Welcome back. We are discussing Vision 2030, the gains, the challenges, the way forward, and does it mean anything to a common Kenyan? Remember, the Jubilee administration picked its manifesto or pledges in line with Vision 2030. We will be hearing from State House in a moment, but first, we go back to the streets.
We have seen major partners, our business partners. We have seen the US President Barack Obama coming to Kenya. Yeah, we have seen Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel.
The pregnant women are now able to give birth in a nice way.
What I find to be too expensive for the country is the SGR.
The country is trying, but because of corruption, we may end up being behind.
One of the targets of Vision 2030 is to have a decently housed nation by the year 2030. And good housing does not just mean 4 walls and a roof. Livable housing conditions come with security, good sanitation, and proper social amenities together with economic opportunities.
The best appreciation of the transformation in housing is when you go to rural areas and see how much the private sector, Kenyans themselves, have transformed their dwelling environment. The grass-thatched houses are significantly being replaced now with iron sheet houses. Semi-permanent houses are being replaced with permanent houses. When you look at urban centers, the issue and focus of what you could call the expansive urban centers where land is being availed through the private sector for housing is enormous. However, we still have a long way to go, particularly in replacing the slums in the country. That still has a long way. But enhancement of the housing opportunity, particularly with connecting Kenyans in their residential areas to the national grid, providing them electricity, has gone a long way. We're almost now headed to 70% of all homes in Kenya being connected to electricity. The quality of the homes has significantly increased.
The housing sector, I think there's a big promise to ensure that the construction of 50,000 new housing units per year. I think that's been difficult, partly because housing in this country is been expensive. But in this year's budget, there's been a provision for a tax rebate for farms that are able to construct at least 1,000 houses for low-cost housing and middle-level housing.
Kule tuko ni kijiji na tena kuna uchafu mwingi, lakini kama serikali ingependelea itujengee nyumba nzuri kama hizi, hata si tuwe tukitoka kwa estate tukikuja Lang'ata, hata si tunafurahi.
However, in the social pillar of the Vision 2030, the area that is commonly cited as having achieved the most measurable gains is the education sector.
Education spreads the benefit throughout the whole population. If you remember, since the date free primary education was offered, we now have almost above 90% enrollment rate for the whole country, and a transition rate above 77% to secondary education. That is a massive transformation because you are investing in people and you get the benefits of that investment.
How about the health sector?
The national government, together with county governments, agreed, and right now I think they have consensus around it, expanding health facilities and providing some equipment, very high-level MRI equipment and some scanning equipment to hospitals and to health facilities in all counties to ensure that there's a decongestion of the health facilities at the national level. Whether we needed to buy as many as those is questionable in my view, but it's part of this ensuring that health facilities are equipped with modern equipment to enable diagnosis and treatment of people.
And observers say it is debatable whether Kenyans feel safer, but here is the government's position.
Modernization of our security apparatus, right down from the equipment, the investment has been unparalleled. You know, in the last 3 years alone, you've had now 20,000 officers recruited to the National Police Service. That in itself will translate into us being able to fulfill the UN ratio of 1 to 400 in terms of policing to citizenry. It is a situation that will then lead to improvement in the economic operating environment by allowing more businesses to operate longer hours because of improved security. That in turn will lift the economic output that we have as a nation.
Direct foreign investment into Kenya has gone up by 37%, the best growth rate in the African continent. When you look at the relocation of about 62 multinational companies that have built their headquarters in Nairobi over the last 4 years, again, is a testament of how the international community, particularly the private capital, is viewing Kenya as the best investment destination, as the safe haven in Africa to operate from. The world is coming to Kenya. The world has accepted Kenya. The media narrative in the global media about Kenya has dramatically changed. That is the brand. And this is where, Chamwada, I think we need to really confront reality as Kenyans. How comes the world has believed more in Kenya than we have believed in ourselves?
Big gains indeed, but there are those who believe Kenya's undoing is corruption, which is a big obstacle to the realization of Vision 2030.
If you look at 400-500 billion unaccounted for every year, you actually come to think that, look, this is not it's worse than a basic kiosk.
There has been no government in the history of this country that has been as resolute as President Kenyatta's government in dealing with corruption. We have over 300 cases in the judiciary today, awaiting decisions from the judiciary on corruption-related matters, touching on the senior-most government officials, people in the cabinet, people running state corporations, people who have supplied or have done business with the government.
The problem about taking people to court after they are corrupt is you accept that they will steal public money and then you have to take them to court. What government has to do is defensive action to ensure that officers are not taking money to begin with. So you appoint people of integrity. First call you make is to ensure that your systems are sufficiently tight to ensure that people are not taking public money or gaining unjustly from public resources. If you read the Auditor General's reports, you will know that the problem is not the courts. The problem is that the systems are so loose and so flexible that many people working within the public sector know how weak those systems are and they take advantage of them.
From the executive, there has been an unequivocal positioning that there is no room for corruption and we will not allow it to railroad the development agenda. When everyone cries wolf, in reality, there are people who may not have benefited or won contracts to do large projects, or they feel that they have a right to do those projects and the procurement process has locked them out for one reason or another. So they raise issues.
We've come to the end of the show. Thank you for making up time for the program. And one extra thing to remember, KTN News Channel is now celebrating 1 year since it went on air. The Chamwada Report has been part of the station's achievement. And do you know what? This year, the Chamwada Report won a key award, Environment Category Television, in the Media Council of Kenya Awards. We now leave you with a flashback of the program that brought that award. That is Climate Change and Living with Floods in River Nyando. Bye-bye for now.
We want to ensure that in the upper catchment where we have the slopes, that the farming that is on the slopes is as per the contours or advised by the agricultural specialists, so that we avoid the soil getting into the river. We want also to ensure that in the farmlands up in the catchment, we avoid using of high chemicals like fertilizers that will be able also to get swept into the river. And this river is a conduit for the water hyacinth in the lake. So we want to also contain that. Some of the chemicals that are used in the farmlands include ammonium phosphate, and urea.
But should rains continue to fall, there will be dire consequences. The people living here and other parts downstream are on a shaky surface. When floods hit this area, families are displaced, lives lost, and infrastructure destroyed.
1961 was the worst. Tena hiyo ndio 1961 hiyo ndio alinipa watu wa United Nations alitangaza hapa kama disaster water Nyando River.